Section 4. Mental prep for a media interview.
Speak to the journalist in the tone and manner you'd address a neighbor, not an IRS auditor or a prosecuting attorney. Understand that the journalist is not paid to transcribe your remarks and distribute them. That's what Business Wire and PR Newswire do for a living. Ask yourself, what does the journalist want from this interview? It's seldom, if ever, what you want. That doesn't make reporters your adversaries. A better analogy really is they're potential customers. You must take into account their needs, yet also be persuasive in conveying the merits of your own product position. Tough questions are not only fair, they're really what you depend upon as a news consumer when the person in the hot seat works for the other guys. Think about your most reviled competitor and what you wish a journalist would ask them in an interview. Then be prepared to answer the questions your most reviled competitor wishes the journalist would ask you. Unlike an advertisement, investors and consumers know that a news story has been written with a skeptical eye. Hence, the credibility of what a journalist says, or better or worse, is heightened by the journalist's very skepticism. That third-party credibility is why we approach journalists in the first place. If you're only prepared or willing to discuss your company's strengths and optimistic scenarios, then don't do the interview. Who are you kidding anyway? Wall Street knows your problems. What investors want to hear is not a denial of those warts, but a well-enunciated plan to eliminate them. Each problem the journalist raises is an opportunity for you to diffuse anxiety on the street. Don't shy away from it. Journalists have amazing BS detectors. If your answers send the needle on their BS detectors into a new orbit, chances are the journalists will sense it. Lying to a journalist is a cardinal no-no. The truth will eventually get out, and the journalist will make you pay dearly for the indiscretion. Be aware that the journalist's interest in you may extend well outside the parameter you've set for your own expertise. In the journalist's eyes, you not only represent your company as a potential source of information, you also represent your industry, other like-minded executives, the corporate world, and especially your expertise on your competition. Be willing to wear each of those hats and more. Like a good neighbor, realize your company and the media must learn to share the neighborhood. Sometimes you'll feel journalists get more out of the relationship than you, and sometimes they'll feel the same way about you. Over time, the scales balance out. So view your encounter as a relationship-building exercise and be patient. That's funny. So this is Mike Bloomberg's office. Mike Bloomberg may become mayor of New York City. He's running on the Republican ticket. And what's neat about him compared to most executives is most executives wouldn't keep their office this open, and in some ways this modest. And so it does sort of say something about him and his personality. Obviously he's gotten a lot of press coverage, which is neat. And I don't know who all these people are, but I assume they're his daughters, and who knows. So if I sit here, does anything transfer? Or like if I sat down here, I would become mayor of New York? It is. No, I'm just not looking at how is this. But look at this. Look at this. Wait, seriously, look at this. This is Yiddish.
Being a news detective, getting to know journalists and what makes them tick without ever meeting them necessarily, is not as hard as it sounds. Unlike other people that private eyes chase and try to follow, journalists leave very public footprints. Their stories, columns, writings, public comments are all on the record and available for easy perusal. What you need to do when you want to study a journalist, of course, the first thing is to get lots of samples of what the journalist has written about. Oftentimes, columnists will write about their own personal lives and their own experiences. Just by virtue of what the journalists cover and how frequently they write, you get some sense of their influence within the news organization. Do their stories appear often on page 1 or on page 48B? When they write their stories, are they in-depth, well-researched, or are they always about the news that broke the day before? Reading between the lines of stories is often more important for the strategic media relations executive than reading what the lines actually say.
So I've got this service, it's called NewsBios. Almost all of our customers, very few of our customers are from small business. Almost all of our customers are giant. I mean, IBM is a customer of ours, and just, you know, New York Stock Exchange, big companies they call it. And they're agencies, and we have all the major PR agencies in the country buy media intelligence from us. I get a call one day from an agency person, and she says to me, "I'm so angry at you and your service, we're never going to use you again." You know, and I don't like to hear that. Well, what happened? I mean, you know, we got information wrong. We screwed up somehow. What did we do? Oh, no, it's much worse than that. You know, we bought one of your briefings on a reporter, and it was a reporter for Forbes, and it said in the personal section that the reporter collects duck decoys. Okay. I said, oh, yeah, so far I'm not quite following. Well, we briefed the CEO on it. And when the reporter came in, the CEO shook hands, they sat down, and the CEO said, "So I understand you collect duck decoys." And the reporter said, "How do you know that?" And the CEO said, "How do we know that?" And then they said, "Well, we bought a report on you." And the reporter said, "You mean you were spying on me?" And the CEO said, "You mean we were spying on him?" And basically, the reporter chastised them for spying on him, felt imposed upon, and left pissed. And then the CEO, of course, was pissed at the agency, and so the agency was pissed at me. Have you seen that? There's this TV commercial that's very similar to that. Now, why didn't you think of that? It's the Jack in the Box commercial. Anybody seen that? Folks, if I tell you that somebody likes to collect duck decoys, don't pick up the phone and say, "I understand you collect duck decoys." What I want you to do is when the reporter comes into your office, you have a duck decoy behind your desk and you don't say a word. And you let the reporter say to you, "Do you like duck decoys?" "Oh yeah, I've been collecting duck decoys since I was a boy." Information can be powerful and can be harmful. I'm trying to give you information that will give you some insight, that will allow you, but you don't have to necessarily call up the journalist and say, "I know your mother had alpha-1 cancer." You just call the reporter whose mother had alpha-1 cancer. You don't have to let the reporter know that the reason you're calling her is because you know something about her that she doesn't know you know about her. In fact, I always think that's a much better alternative, is that you know something about the journalist, but you don't let the journalist know what you know. Okay?